What if everything you thought you had built, the money, the power, the perfect new marriage, shattered in seconds, not because of your own weakness, but because of the woman you once discarded, the woman you underestimated, the woman who found strength in her silence and power in her resilience? For the American and British audience watching this right now, let me tell you, this is not just another love triangle or a scandal over dinner. This is a high-stakes story of betrayal, secrets, courtroom wars, and a shocking reversal of power that will leave you questioning who truly wins when pride collides with truth. Stay with me until the end, because what unfolds will silence even the loudest critics, and if you want more stories like this that expose hidden truths and dramatic twists, don't forget to subscribe right now. It was supposed to be the perfect night. Billionaire tech tycoon Charles Whitmore had recently married Isabella, a statuesque blonde socialite with polished manners and the kind of cold confidence that made photographers adore her on red carpets. Dressed in a midnight blue tailored suit, Charles walked into one of London's most exclusive restaurants, La Lumiere, where the tables glowed under crystal chandeliers and each glass of wine cost more than an ordinary worker's paycheck. Isabella clutched his arm like she owned the world, whispering to him that everyone in the room was staring at them with envy. But as the maitre d' guided them to their private table by the panoramic window, Charles's eyes froze. Across the room, sitting gracefully in a velvet emerald dress, was a woman he thought he would never see again, Naomi Carter, his black ex-girlfriend. She wasn't alone. At her side sat Maxwell Harrington, a powerful British CEO who controlled one of Europe's largest investment empires. The sight nearly knocked the air out of Charles's lungs. Naomi had once been the quiet strength behind his early years, the woman who supported him when he had nothing, who believed in his ideas before they were profitable, who cooked for him when he was too busy coding through the night. But Charles had left her without warning 5 years ago, dumping her for Isabella after one glamorous charity gala where his eyes had been dazzled by wealth. Now here she was, radiating elegance, confidence, and sitting with a man who not only matched Charles's wealth, but had the power to crush his empire with a single market move. Isabella noticed his distraction and hissed under her breath, "Who is she?" Charles stammered, lied quickly, and tried to look away, but the truth was already digging through his chest like a knife. Naomi caught his gaze, and instead of pain or bitterness, she gave him the smallest, most knowing smile, as if silently saying, "You never thought I'd rise, but look at me now." The dinner that was meant to celebrate Charles's perfect new marriage had just turned into the night that would unravel every secret he thought he had buried. As Isabella excused herself to take a call, Charles made a reckless decision. He approached Naomi and Maxwell's table, his voice controlled but sharp, asking Naomi if they could catch up. Maxwell's eyes narrowed, immediately protective of the woman beside him, and Naomi simply raised her glass with an elegance that disarmed Charles. "Funny," she said coolly, "how the man who never had time for conversation suddenly wants one." The words cut deeper than he expected. Maxwell leaned in, his tone deliberate. "Charles, if you're here to discuss business, this isn't the place. If it's personal, you should know Naomi's life has no space for distractions from the past." Charles felt his pride burn. He had once been the powerful one, the man Naomi depended on, and now she was shielded by someone who could outmatch him in both influence and loyalty. But what Charles didn't know was that Naomi had never truly disappeared into heartbreak. Instead, she had rebuilt herself in silence. After he abandoned her, she had taken the skills she learned from supporting his startups and used them to create her own consultancy firm. And when one of her early projects caught Maxwell's attention, he didn't just hire her, he partnered with her, giving her the platform to flourish on her own terms. Their bond wasn't just romantic. It was a partnership of intellect and respect. As Charles returned to his table, Isabella demanded answers, sensing the tension. He brushed it off, but inside his old wounds were bleeding again, reopening a war between past choices and present regrets. Naomi wasn't the woman he once left behind. She was stronger, richer in spirit, and standing beside a man who respected her in ways Charles never could. The tables had turned, and he knew this was only the beginning of a battle he wasn't prepared for. What began as a chance encounter soon escalated into a high-stakes legal drama. Maxwell's company announced a bold new acquisition, a merger with a global firm that directly threatened Charles's tech empire. Charles, desperate and prideful, launched a lawsuit accusing Maxwell of unfair business practices. But what shocked everyone was Naomi's role. She wasn't just Maxwell's partner in love. She was his lead strategist in the legal war. In the courtroom, where cameras flashed and journalists filled the benches, Naomi stepped forward with evidence Charles never expected to see again. Documents, contracts, and messages from years ago when she had helped him in the early days of his empire. Some of them revealed truths Charles had buried, shady dealings he thought no one could trace. Gasps filled the courtroom as Naomi spoke in calm, articulate precision, unraveling the myth of Charles's genius by showing how much of his success had relied on her unpaid labor and her sacrifices. Isabella, sitting behind him, felt the image of her perfect billionaire husband crumble with each word. At one point, Charles tried to interrupt Naomi, but the judge silenced him, warning him to respect the court. The irony was undeniable. The black woman he once silenced in private now commanded a room filled with the world's eyes, and his new wife could do nothing but watch. Twists came fast. An anonymous whistleblower backed Naomi's testimony, investors began pulling out from Charles's company, and reporters painted Naomi as the unsung heroine rising against the arrogance of power. For the first time in years, Charles wasn't in control. And as the trial dragged on, he saw not only his empire, but his marriage cracking. Isabella resented the humiliation, her loyalty draining with every headline, while Naomi stood taller than ever, not for revenge, but for justice. The final verdict came on a rainy London afternoon. The courtroom was packed, anticipation heavy in the air. The judge ruled in Maxwell's favor, but more importantly, acknowledged Naomi's critical role in exposing the hidden layers of Charles's empire. It was a symbolic victory that went beyond money. It was about dignity reclaimed. As the gavel struck, Charles slumped in his chair, his empire's shares plummeting outside in the markets, his reputation torn to pieces. Isabella left without a word, her diamond ring clinking against the table as she tossed it aside, signaling the end of their short-lived marriage. Reporters swarmed Naomi, praising her brilliance and resilience. But she didn't bask in the chaos. Instead, she turned to Maxwell, who held her hand, both of them walking out together as equals, partners in strength and in purpose. Charles watched them go, unable to move, realizing too late that the woman he once underestimated had become the force that silenced him in every way that mattered. The silence in that courtroom, after Naomi spoke her last words, was more powerful than any billion-dollar empire. And to the audience in the USA and UK hearing this story right now, remember this: power without respect is fragile. Love without loyalty is hollow, and the people you underestimate today might be the ones who decide your fate tomorrow.